I still remember the morning I got the call, a surveyor from the county, his voice trembling as he said, "Mr. Lawson, you're going to want to come down here. You're not going to believe what they built." I thought it was a joke. After all, my land, 240 acres of rolling meadows and forest outside of Maple Creek, had been in my family for 4 generations. No one built anything out there without me knowing. But when I drove out that afternoon, what I saw turned my stomach. Rows upon rows of newly built homes, bright pastel boxes lined up in perfect, soulless grids, stretched across my fields. Streets were paved over the wildflower meadows my grandfather used to walk me through. A playground stood right where the old Lawson oak tree once towered. It looked like a brand new suburban development, the kind with smiling families, manicured lawns, and a big sign at the front that read, "Willow Springs Estates, a proud WA community." And that's when I saw her. Karen, the self-proclaimed president of the Willow Springs Homeowners Association. Short, with a sharp haircut, oversized sunglasses, and an expression that screamed entitlement, she strutted toward me like she owned the place. "Excuse me," she barked before I could even step out of my truck. "You can't park here. This is private WA property. Residents only." I stared at her, speechless for a second. "Private property," I finally said. "Ma'am, this is my land." She crossed her arms, smirking. "I don't think so, cowboy. This community was developed by Maple Creek Development Corp. Everything here's been properly purchased and zoned. You're trespassing." That word, trespassing, burned. My grandfather's ashes were buried under that old oak, my father's initials carved into the barn beam that now sat behind one of those soulless garages. And now this woman, this WA Karen, was telling me I was the intruder. But I didn't argue. Not that day. I just nodded slowly, got back in my truck, and drove off. Because I had something she didn't. The deed. See, my father had left me the entire tract in his will, and it had never been subdivided, sold, or leased. The county records were clear. The land still belonged entirely to Lawson Holdings, my family's LLC. What had happened was a massive bureaucratic error, one that Karen and her WA developers had taken full advantage of. Somehow, through a mess of fake surveys, doctored zoning maps, and corrupt officials, they'd managed to build nearly 100 homes on my land. And now, they were selling them. I spent weeks gathering evidence. County maps, historic plats, the original deed from 1892, written in my great-grandfather's handwriting. Every page told the same story. That land was mine. And when I was sure, 100% sure, I hired the best property lawyer in the state, old James Holloway, who'd made a career out of destroying fraudulent developers. When we filed the injunction, it hit like a thunderclap. The entire Willow Springs WA was suddenly frozen. No sales, no transfers, no new permits. Then came the letters. Every single homeowner received a notice. Your property is located on privately owned land belonging to the Lawson family. Your occupancy is unauthorized. The panic started immediately. Cars lined up at the WA office, and Karen, oh, Karen, was right in the middle of it, red-faced and shouting that everything was fine. That it was just a mistake. But the truth was, she knew exactly what had happened. Her husband was part of the development company that faked the zoning reports. She'd been in on it from day one. When I confronted her at a community meeting a week later, she nearly exploded. "You can't just kick out families," she shouted, her voice shaking with rage. "People have mortgages. Kids go to school here. I didn't kick anyone out," I said quietly. "You built on land you didn't own. You lied to these people. I'm just here to take back what's mine." The room went silent. You could hear the hum of the air conditioning. A few of the homeowners, the good ones, looked devastated. They'd bought their homes believing everything was legitimate. They weren't the villains. They were victims, too. So I made a choice. I told them I wouldn't force anyone out, not immediately. If they wanted to stay, I'd lease them the land fairly, at minimal cost, just enough to cover taxes. They'd be free from the WA, too, no more $500 fines for mismatched curtains or for kids' bikes left in driveways. But Karen, she wasn't getting that deal. She'd built her own massive, WA president's home, right in the center of the subdivision, a monstrosity with marble steps, a 3-car garage, and an iron fence around it. That property, I decided, would be the example. When the court ruled in my favor, declaring every single square foot of Willow Springs legally mine, the sheriff served her an eviction notice. Watching her face twist with disbelief as deputies told her to pack up and leave was a moment I'll never forget. She tried everything, screaming about squatters' rights, filing appeals, even going on local news to paint herself as the victim. But the documents didn't lie. She'd defrauded people, built on stolen land, and pretended to be queen of a kingdom that never existed. Within months, the HOA was dissolved. The Willow Springs sign came down. I worked with the residents who'd been scammed to secure legitimate leases and even helped a few buy their parcels outright. We built a real community, one without Karen's rules or her arrogance. The laughter of kids replaced her endless HOA emails. The lawns grew wild again, dotted with wildflowers like they used to be. As for Karen, she vanished. Last I heard, she and her husband had declared bankruptcy and left the state. Sometimes I walk through that neighborhood at sunset, the golden light spilling over the rooftops, and I think about my grandfather, how proud he'd be that the land was still in our name, still alive. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about respect. For history, for truth, and for the people who'd been caught in someone else's greed. And every time I see the kids running under the new oak sapling we planted where the old one stood, I remember what my dad used to say. Greater than, land isn't just dirt, son. It's memory. And memory deserves to be protected.